Have you ever noticed how your muscles seem weaker, or how sometimes getting out of bed feels like a bigger challenge than it used to? Many of us quietly accept these changes as just part of getting old. But what if that's not the full story? It's easy to think that slowing down is simply because we move less or that memory slips are inevitable. Yet, science is revealing something surprising. These signs may not be just about age itself. They often point to hidden causes we overlook every day. In this video, I'll share what I discovered after months of research into what really affects our health as we age, and at the end, I'll reveal one simple habit that could make a big difference. So, if you're ready to understand the truth behind these silent struggles, let's dive in together. If you are not subscribed, subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. If you've ever found yourself sitting in a quiet living room on a Sunday afternoon, maybe the TV humming softly in the background, you might have caught your mind drifting back over the years. Perhaps you wondered, how did life change so quickly? One day, you're balancing kids and career, and the next, you're watching grandkids run through the yard or spending peaceful evenings reminiscing about friends who live far away. It's a feeling many of us share, even if we rarely talk about it. A subtle shift where the spotlight slowly moves off us, and we start to wonder, what is it that truly matters now, especially for women in their later years? It's easy to think that by this stage, most women are set in their ways, content with what they have, or simply waiting for the next family gathering. But is that the case? Does age somehow change what the heart needs, or do the same hopes, worries, and longings follow us throughout our lives, simply wearing different faces as the years go by? This was the question that quietly nudged me, especially after seeing how my mother, my aunts, and their friends seemed to change after turning 65. They'd mention feeling invisible at times, or talk about the loneliness that can come when everyone assumes you're doing just fine. So, I decided to find out for myself. Over 3 months, I reached out to dozens of women aged 60 to 85. Some were retired teachers, others busy grandmothers, a few were widows finding their footing again, and there were even a handful of women who seemed to pack more adventure into a single year than most people do in a lifetime. Each of them came from a different walk of life, but all were living through the same chapter, navigating what it means to age as a woman in America. I didn't come in with fancy surveys or a pile of research papers. Instead, I listened. Sometimes over a cup of coffee, other times while walking in the park, and occasionally during long phone calls that wandered from childhood memories to worries about health or the latest neighborhood news. What surprised me wasn't just what these women wanted. It was how much their voices had been softened, how often their opinions were overlooked, even by the people who loved them most. Again and again, I heard the same quiet confession. Sometimes, it feels like I just disappear. At first, I thought the sense of being overlooked was something unique to my own family, or maybe just the price of getting older. But science backs up what these women feel. Studies show that as people age, especially women, society tends to listen less, as if wisdom is measured in youth and ambition instead of experience and resilience. It's not that family or friends stop loving them. It's just that life moves fast, and the gentle voices of our elders can get lost in the noise. The truth is, what women want in their later years isn't always about big, sweeping changes. It's about feeling valued, heard, and understood. Having someone ask for their opinion, or just take time to listen to a story that's been waiting to be told. I realized that, for many women, the greatest wish was not material. It was emotional. They wanted to matter, to feel their presence still counted for something, whether that meant teaching a grandchild how to bake bread, sharing advice about love and loss, or simply being invited to the table when family decisions were made. One of the most touching moments in my journey was with Mrs. Dorothy, a 78-year-old widow who had spent much of her life as a nurse. She told me, "When I was working, everyone needed me. The phone rang, the kids called, neighbors knocked for advice. Now, there are days when I go without hearing my name spoken at all." She smiled, not bitter, but wistful. I don't need much. I just want to know that I'm still needed, even if it's just to listen or to laugh about something silly. Dorothy's story isn't unique. Time and again, I met women whose lives had been full, raising families, building careers, and supporting communities. But as their roles shifted, they worried that their value was fading. This wasn't about being sad or dissatisfied. Many found deep peace and even a new sense of freedom in their senior years. Still, that little ache, the wish to be seen and heard, never quite left. And here's where science offers hope. Research in gerontology and social psychology shows that meaningful engagement, being part of decisions, sharing wisdom, connecting with others, boosts both mental and physical health as we age. People who feel their lives have purpose tend to stay healthier, maintain sharper memories, and even live longer. So, the desire to feel valued isn't just an emotional need. It's a key ingredient to aging well. But how do you put this into practice in everyday life? The answer isn't complicated or expensive. It can be as simple as making a phone call to an old friend, inviting your mother or neighbor for lunch, or asking a woman in your life for her opinion about anything, big or small. Creating opportunities for meaningful conversation is one of the greatest gifts we can give, both to ourselves and to those around us. You don't have to solve every problem. Sometimes, just showing up and listening is enough. Take the story of Eileen, who felt adrift after her husband passed away. 4 months, she barely left the house. But when her daughter asked her to help organize a family photo album, sorting through boxes of old pictures, telling the stories behind each one, Eileen felt a sense of belonging bloom again. "I wasn't just looking at my past," she said. "I was helping my family see where they came from. It gave me purpose again." So if you're watching this and wondering if what you feel is normal, know that you're not alone. Whether you're a woman longing to be heard or a loved one hoping to connect more deeply, remember, the greatest need in this chapter of life is often the simplest, to know that your story still matters. The next time you're with someone you care about, try asking a question you've never asked before, or listen just a little longer. It's a small act, but for someone like Dorothy or Eileen, it can change everything. Aging isn't about fading away. It's about stepping into a new light, where the wisdom and love you've carried for decades are needed more than ever. Let's cherish this time for ourselves and each other, and never stop asking and listening what it is that women and all of us truly want. What women want after 60, body. 1. To be heard and understood. If you've ever found yourself at a family dinner, surrounded by loved ones, and yet felt strangely invisible, you're not alone. It's a feeling many women experience as they get older. Maybe your children are busy sharing stories from their week, or the grandkids are glued to their phones, and you realize that hours have gone by without anyone asking for your opinion, your memories, or your advice. For many women over 65, this quiet sense of fading into the background is a familiar companion, a gentle ache that comes from not being truly heard or understood. But is this just an inevitable part of growing older, or is there something more at play? Should we accept the idea that, as time passes, our voices naturally become softer, our stories less important? Or is it possible that the need to be heard and understood grows stronger with age, not weaker? These questions challenge the usual assumption that later life is a time to shrink back and let the younger folks take over. What if, in reality, this chapter is when our stories, wisdom, and feelings are more valuable than ever? To answer that, let's look at what happens beneath the surface. Research in psychology and gerontology has shown that as people age, especially women, they often face a phenomenon known as social invisibility. This isn't just about being physically present but emotionally overlooked. Our culture tends to prioritize the voices of the young and ambitious, often at the expense of those who have spent decades gathering experience, nurturing families, and overcoming challenges. But science tells us something different. Being listened to, truly listened to, is critical for emotional health at any age. It's not just a nice gesture, It's a basic human need. Listening does more than pass the time. When someone listens with genuine interest, our brains release chemicals like oxytocin, the bonding hormone. This creates feelings of trust, comfort, and connection. For older adults, especially women who've given so much of themselves to others, these moments of attentive listening are like sunlight after a long winter. They remind us that we're still seen and valued. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. So, what can be done about this quiet longing to be heard? The solution isn't complicated or out of reach. It starts with making space for real conversations. Those moments when you put aside the distractions, sit face to face, and give your full attention to the person in front of you. For families, this could mean setting aside time during gatherings to ask about a parent's or grandparent's memories. For friends, it might be a weekly phone call with no agenda except to talk and listen. For women themselves, it could mean reaching out to others and sharing stories, even if it feels a bit vulnerable at first. Let's take the story of Mary, a 74-year-old grandmother from Ohio. After her husband passed, Mary found herself spending more and more evenings alone, her days filled with chores and short conversations with neighbors. One afternoon, her grandson Ethan visited and, instead of rushing off to play video games, he sat down at the kitchen table and asked, "Grandma, what was it like when you were my age?" For the next hour, Mary shared stories about growing up in a small town, her first dance, and the old car her father used to drive. Ethan listened, wide-eyed, laughing and asking questions. And for the first time in months, Mary felt the kind of joy that only comes from being truly heard. That simple conversation changed their relationship. Ethan started visiting more often, sometimes bringing friends who wanted to hear Grandma's stories. Mary found herself looking forward to these visits, her days brighter and her heart lighter. She later said, "I didn't realize how much I needed someone to just listen. It made me feel alive again." Stories like Mary's are not unique. All across the country, older women crave this kind of connection. They want their stories to be heard, their advice to matter, and their feelings to be acknowledged. And when this happens, the results are profound, not just emotionally, but physically, too. Studies show that seniors who feel listened to and understood report lower levels of stress, stronger immune systems, and even improved memory. The simple act of being heard can be life-changing. If you're someone who sometimes feels overlooked, here's an easy, gentle step you can try. The next time you're with family or friends, offer a story or memory from your past. Don't wait to be asked. Sometimes, people just need a little reminder that you have treasures to share. If you're a family member or friend of an older woman, take a few minutes each week to ask questions about her childhood, her dreams, and her favorite moments. Listen, not just to the words, but to the feelings behind them. Remember, listening is a two-way street. It's not just about hearing words, it's about making someone feel seen and valued. And that's something anyone can give, no matter their age or experience. At the end of the day, to be heard and understood is one of life's deepest joys. It reminds us that our lives, no matter how ordinary they may seem, are woven with stories worth telling. So if you ever wonder whether your voice matters, know this: your words, your memories, and your wisdom are a gift. Don't be afraid to share them, and don't be afraid to ask for a listening ear. Because sometimes, the simple act of listening is all it takes to bring warmth back into a heart, hope back into a day, and meaning back into a life. If you take just one step after watching this, let it be this: listen to someone's story, or share your own. You might be surprised at how much it changes you both. 2. Feeling valued and having purpose. Have you ever woken up on a quiet morning, sunlight streaming through the curtains, and wondered, does anyone need me today? Maybe your children have grown up and moved out, and the flurry of family activity has given way to long, peaceful hours that can sometimes feel just a bit too silent. For many women over 65, this shift is bittersweet. There's more time for hobbies, rest, and reflection. But there's also the nagging question: am I still important? Is there a place for me in this ever-changing world? It's easy to believe that after retirement, or once the kids are gone, a person's sense of purpose naturally fades. But what if that isn't the whole story? What if the longing to feel valued, to know that your presence matters, actually grows stronger as we age, not weaker? Could it be that this quiet ache so many feel is not a sign of weakness, but a call to rediscover our deepest sources of meaning? Science tells us that having purpose isn't just a nice-to-have in our later years. It's essential. Studies from Harvard and Stanford have shown that older adults with a sense of purpose have better physical health, sharper memory, and lower rates of depression. Purpose, even something as simple as caring for a pet, mentoring a neighbor, or volunteering once a week, can spark the brain and nourish the soul. When we feel needed, our bodies release dopamine and endorphins, the very chemicals that help fight off sadness and keep our hearts strong. But in real life, how do you find that purpose when the familiar routines of earlier years are gone? The answer often begins with recognizing that purpose doesn't have to mean grand achievements or world-changing projects. Sometimes it's found in the smallest acts: a friendly phone call, a note in the mail, sharing a recipe, or planting flowers in the yard for everyone to enjoy. It can even mean offering wisdom and encouragement to someone else who's struggling, or simply showing up for a friend who needs company. Let me tell you about Jane, a 71-year-old retired librarian from Michigan. When Jane's husband passed away, and her children moved across the country, she suddenly found herself in a house that felt far too big and quiet. The silence weighed on her, and she started to wonder if her days of being truly useful were behind her. For a while, Jane drifted through her routines, reading books, tidying up, watching TV, but the spark she once had seemed to dim. One afternoon, Jane noticed a flyer at her local grocery store: volunteers needed, local library story hour. At first, she hesitated, worrying she was too old or that no one would remember her. But something inside her nudged her to call, and soon Jane found herself back in the children's section of the library, surrounded by eager young faces, reading stories about adventures and heroes and talking animals. What surprised Jane wasn't just how much she enjoyed it, but how quickly she felt her old energy returning. The children would listen, spellbound, and sometimes ask questions only she could answer. Parents and staff would thank her, and a few of the kids even called her Miss Jane with affection. Jane discovered that her lifetime of reading, learning, and caring still mattered, maybe now more than ever. She began looking forward to each week, her days filled with planning stories, creating crafts, and most importantly, knowing she was still making a difference. Jane's experience isn't rare. 1,000 studies and stories across America show that older adults who feel valued, who have a reason to get up and contribute, are not only happier but healthier. Purpose doesn't have to be public or glamorous. It's about connection. It's the knowledge that your presence matters to someone, somewhere, even if it's just the neighbor who smiles at your garden, the friend who calls for advice, or the grandchild who lights up when you walk through the door. But what if you're watching this and thinking, I don't know where to start. I'm not sure anyone needs me anymore. You're not alone. It's normal to feel lost during transitions, especially after big changes like retirement or losing a loved one. The key is to start small. Reach out to a local group, maybe a church, a food pantry, or a community garden. Offer to help with something you love, even if it's just for an hour a week. Or call someone you haven't spoken to in a while and ask how they're doing. You might be surprised at how much your call means to them. And don't forget, the power of purpose can be found in your own home. Teaching your grandchildren a family recipe, sharing your life story with a younger neighbor, or simply caring for a pet or tending to houseplants can bring real meaning to your days. Even your presence, your encouragement, your quiet strength, these are gifts the world needs. For some, finding a new purpose might mean learning something new, like painting, writing, or picking up an instrument for the first time. For others, it's rediscovering old passions that once brought joy. The important thing is to remember that your worth does not depend on what you can produce or accomplish. It's about being present, loving, and open to connection. So, if you wake up tomorrow wondering if you matter, remember Jane's story. Remember that feeling valued and having purpose isn't reserved for the young or the busy. The wisdom and kindness you've collected over a lifetime are more precious now than ever before. Reach out, try something new, share your story, or simply listen to someone else's. And if the world ever feels like it's rushing past, know that you still have a place, a vital one. Your experience, your compassion, and your gentle presence are needed. You have a purpose, even when it seems quiet. Let this be your encouragement. Purpose doesn't fade with age, it changes shape, sometimes becoming even more powerful. You have value, right here and now. The world is a better place because you're in it. Never doubt that for a moment. 3. Closeness and intimate connection. Think back to those quiet evenings. Maybe sitting by the window with a cup of tea, watching dusk fall across the yard. Sometimes, the silence can feel peaceful, like a soft blanket, but other times it presses in, reminding you of how empty a house can seem when there's no one to share it with. For many women in their later years, this is a familiar feeling. A longing not just for company, but for true closeness and connection, the kind that goes deeper than casual chats or polite greetings. You might have believed that intimacy, whether it's a gentle touch, a warm hug, or the easy closeness of a shared conversation, belongs mostly to the young. Maybe you even find yourself thinking, that part of life has passed me by. But what if that isn't true? What if our need for affection, for deep companionship, never really fades with age but instead changes shape, becoming quieter, subtler, but every bit as vital? If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 2 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Science agrees. Human beings are wired for connection at every stage of life. Studies from the National Institutes of Health have found that meaningful touch, a hand held during a difficult moment, a gentle pat on the back, even sitting close enough to feel someone's warmth, can lower blood pressure, reduce anxiety, and even help our brains release oxytocin, the bonding hormone. It isn't just romantic love that matters, but all forms of intimacy and closeness. A grandchild's arms around your neck, an old friend's laughter echoing across the kitchen, the quiet comfort of holding hands during a movie. Too often, society assumes that older adults are past all that the need for closeness is something we outgrow. But countless interviews and scientific studies tell a different story. The ache for connection only deepens as we move through life's later chapters. It's not just about avoiding loneliness. It's about belonging, about feeling cherished and alive. Without regular, meaningful contact, both the body and the spirit can begin to wither. So, how can we create more intimate connections in our lives, especially when families are spread across the country, friends move away, and old routines shift? The answer starts with recognizing that intimacy comes in many forms. Not just romance, but friendship, family ties, and even community bonds. It's about making space for real conversations and honest moments. Try reaching out to a friend with a simple message, "I miss you. Let's catch up." Or make it a point to hug your loved ones more often, to hold hands, or to sit side by side in comfortable silence. There's a wonderful story about Helen, a spirited 80-year-old from Oregon who found herself widowed after 45 years of marriage. For a while, Helen's world shrank to the walls of her house and the occasional grocery store trip. She missed the easy rhythm of her husband's company, the morning ritual of reading the paper together, the wordless understanding of a shared glance, even the gentle teasing that filled their days with laughter. Feeling adrift, Helen decided to join a local walking group for seniors. At first, she worried it would be awkward. Would anyone even notice her? But week by week, as the group ambled along neighborhood trails, something shifted. People started sharing stories, funny memories, family updates, even secret worries. Helen found herself drawn into the fold, and soon, she was exchanging hugs at the end of every walk, celebrating birthdays, and even hosting Sunday morning coffee at her home. One chilly morning, a new member, Joan, slipped on a patch of ice and stumbled. Without hesitation, Helen reached out and grabbed her hand, steadying her. Joan squeezed back, eyes shining. "Thank you," she whispered. In that moment, Helen realized that connection wasn't just about the big gestures or grand declarations. It was in the small acts of care, the shared experiences, and the warmth of simply being together. Helen's life didn't suddenly become free of loneliness, but those moments of genuine closeness brought color and comfort back into her world. "We need each other," Helen said. "Not just for chores or rides to the doctor, but for the laughter, the hugs, the feeling that someone truly sees you." If you're watching this and feel the ache of missing someone, or if you worry that the days of deep connection are behind you, know this: it's never too late to build or rebuild intimacy. You might begin by reaching out to an old friend or inviting a neighbor over for coffee. Volunteer for a cause you care about, join a book club, or even take a dance class. If you're separated from family, don't be afraid to tell them you'd love more calls or visits. Sometimes, people simply don't realize how much those small gestures matter. And remember, intimacy doesn't always have to be about words. Sometimes, sitting in comfortable silence with someone who cares can be more powerful than the longest conversation. A gentle hand on the shoulder, a shared walk, a smile. These are the threads that weave us back into the fabric of connection. If you have someone in your life who's struggling with loneliness, be the one to reach out. Offer a warm hug, a listening ear, or just your quiet presence. If you're the one who feels alone, permit yourself to ask for closeness. You deserve it. The truth is, we never outgrow the need for intimacy. If anything, as the years go by, those quiet moments of connection become even more precious. They remind us that, no matter how much the world changes, we are never truly alone as long as we're willing to reach for each other. So, if you take one thing from this, let it be this: it's always worth reaching out, always worth asking for a hand to hold, a friend to listen, a shoulder to lean on. Connection isn't just for the young, it's a lifelong need, and it's yours to claim every single day. 4. Independence and respect for privacy. Have you ever noticed how, as we grow older, it seems like the world wants to wrap us in a bubble of safety? But sometimes, that bubble can feel a little too tight? Maybe your daughter insists on calling every night to remind you about your medications, or your son tries to take over paying your bills, just in case. Neighbors might drop hints about assisted living, and even well-meaning friends offer unsolicited advice about downsizing or slowing down. On the surface, these gestures come from a place of love. But deep down, they can leave you wondering, do they trust me to live my own life? Does anyone see the capable person I still am? We often accept the idea that, with age, comes a necessary loss of freedom, that the older we get, the more our choices should be made for us. But is that true? Is growing older a signal to surrender the steering wheel of your life, or is it a time to hold on even tighter to your independence, your right to make decisions, and your privacy? What if, instead of giving up autonomy, the golden years are the perfect time to celebrate it, and to gently remind those around us that respect is the highest form of love? Let's look at what science and life experience tell us. Numerous studies from the American Psychological Association have shown that maintaining independence in later years leads to better mental health, higher self-esteem, and even improved physical well-being. People who feel in control of their own lives tend to stay more active, more social, and more optimistic. On the other hand, when well-meaning family or caregivers step in too much, taking over decisions, schedules, or finances, older adults often feel diminished, frustrated, or even resentful. Respecting someone's privacy and autonomy isn't about leaving them alone. It's about honoring their wisdom and their lifelong right to choose. So, what does this look like in day-to-day life? Sometimes, it's as simple as being asked instead of told. Rather than, here's what you should do, try, what would you like to do? Instead of, I'll do that for you, say, would you like a hand, or do you want to try it yourself? These small shifts in language make a big difference. They show respect, build trust, and help everyone feel seen and heard. Let me share the story of Louise, an 80-year-old retired teacher living in Minnesota. Louise was always fiercely independent. She balanced a teaching career, raised 3 children, and traveled cross-country in a camper with her late husband. But after a mild stroke, her family became anxious. Her eldest son began organizing her medications and handling her bills. Her daughter called daily with reminders to take it easy. While Louise appreciated their concern, she felt the walls closing in. "I know they love me," she said, "but I also know what I'm capable of. I need to make my own choices, even if I stumble sometimes." After a few heart-to-heart conversations, Louise and her family made some changes. Instead of assuming what she needed, they started asking, "Mom, do you want help with your banking this month, or would you rather do it yourself?" Sometimes Louise said yes, sometimes no, but the key was choice. They also agreed on boundaries. Louise would keep her bedroom and bathroom off-limits to surprise inspections. She began to feel herself again, proud, self-reliant, and respected. The result? Louise was happier, more engaged with life, and even took up painting, something she'd always wanted to try but never made time for. Her family relaxed, too, knowing she was safe but not smothered. Louise said, "Respect isn't about being left alone. It's about being trusted to live on my terms. That's real love." If you're a senior watching this, maybe you felt a bit of what Louise went through. The world might be changing around you, but your desire for independence and privacy has not. Don't be afraid to speak up. Let your family and friends know what matters most to you, and don't hesitate to ask for space when you need it. You've earned it through a lifetime of hard work and caring for others. And if you're someone caring for an older parent, friend, or neighbor, remember, your support is a blessing, but so is your trust. Sometimes, letting someone make their own decisions, even if it means a few mistakes, is the greatest gift you can give. Ask before acting, listen more than you talk, and celebrate every act of independence, no matter how small. Of course, there are times when help is truly needed. Medical emergencies, big life changes, or new health challenges. But even then, respect the person's dignity. Involve them in the conversation. Offer choices. Ask for their input on how they want to be supported. That's how you help someone age with grace and pride. Privacy matters, too. Maybe it's about having your room, or being able to spend time on a favorite hobby without interruptions. Maybe it's just the freedom to go for a walk or read a book in peace. These moments of solitude are not selfish, they are soul food. They let us recharge, reflect, and remain grounded in who we are, apart from anyone else's expectations. So, here's a gentle challenge. If you feel your independence slipping, take one small step to reclaim it. Maybe handle a task you haven't done in a while, or set a new boundary with family. If you're a caregiver, pause before helping. Ask first, then listen. Independence and privacy aren't just about doing things for yourself. They're about living with dignity, feeling capable, and knowing you are trusted and respected. These are treasures that belong to you at every age, especially now. Remember, you've navigated so many chapters in life already. Raising families, building careers, caring for others. This chapter belongs to you, and you have every right to write it your way. So speak up, stand tall, and embrace your independence with pride. Let this be your encouragement. The truest love is the kind that respects boundaries and celebrates autonomy. Trust yourself, and invite others to trust you, too. You are strong, wise, and worthy of every ounce of respect. Hold on to your freedom, cherish your privacy, and never let anyone, no matter how well-meaning, convince you otherwise. 5. Health and emotional care. Have you ever noticed how, as the years pass, your health seems to slip quietly into the center of your daily thoughts? Maybe you find yourself counting out pills each morning, scheduling doctor visits, or reading food labels more carefully than ever before. For many women in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, caring for their body and mind can feel like a full-time job. But beneath the routines and reminders, there's often a silent worry. Am I doing enough? Am I taking care of myself, or just going through the motions? If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. It's easy to believe that health in our later years is only about medicine, keeping cholesterol down, controlling blood sugar, or managing arthritis pain. But is that the whole story? Could it be that the most important kind of health, especially now, is a blend of physical care and emotional well-being? A balance that goes far deeper than any number on a chart. Science has a lot to say about this. Studies from the Mayo Clinic and the National Institute on Aging show that while taking medication and seeing your doctor are important, they are only one piece of the puzzle. Seniors who also focus on emotional health, finding joy, reducing stress, staying connected, have better outcomes, recover faster from illness, and even live longer. The mind and body are inseparable. A peaceful heart supports a strong immune system. Laughter truly can lower blood pressure. The old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, is still true. But so is, a joyful spirit is good medicine. But in everyday life, how do you put that into practice? What does it mean to care for both your health and your heart, especially when some days are easier than others? The answer often lies in small, gentle habits that add up over time. It's in choosing foods that nourish you, even if that means swapping out a favorite treat now and then. It's in moving your body, whether with a walk in the park, gentle stretching, or a bit of gardening. Just as important, it's allowing yourself to rest, to take naps, and to listen to what your body truly needs. Let's talk about emotional care, because this is where so many women quietly struggle. The world is quick to hand out advice about diets and exercise, but less quick to notice the loneliness that can creep in when routines slow down or friends move away. Maybe you sometimes feel a wave of sadness you can't explain, or a sense that the world is spinning on without you. These feelings are normal, but they're not meant to be faced alone. Connection is as vital as any prescription. Calling a friend, joining a church group, or simply having a chat with a neighbor across the fence can do wonders. Even if you're not naturally outgoing, just one meaningful conversation each day can lift your spirits. Don't underestimate the power of laughter, of sharing a story, or even of singing along to a favorite old song in the kitchen. Emotional care is about feeding your soul, not just your body. Let me share the story of Susan, a 76-year-old from North Carolina. For years, Susan managed her diabetes carefully, never missing a doctor's appointment, always checking her blood sugar. But after her husband passed, Susan found herself losing energy, her sleep growing restless, and her health slipping, even though she followed all the rules. Her daughter gently suggested she try joining a senior yoga class at the local community center. At first, Susan felt nervous. She'd never been flexible, and meeting new people was daunting. But she decided to try. The first class was a struggle. Susan's muscles were stiff, her mind distracted. But after a few weeks, something changed. The class became a bright spot in her week. She found herself smiling more, laughing with the other women, and even sleeping better at night. The gentle movement helped her body, but the real magic was in the friendships and laughter she discovered along the way. Susan's doctor noticed her improvement, too. Her blood sugar stabilized, her mood lifted, and she found joy she hadn't felt in years. Susan's experience shows that taking care of your health isn't only about medicine. It's about listening to yourself, asking what would bring more comfort, more meaning, or even more fun into your life. Maybe it's as simple as sitting on the porch each morning with a cup of coffee, letting the sun warm your face and your worries drift away for a few minutes. Or maybe it's volunteering, painting, reading, or anything that reminds you of who you are outside your health challenges. If you sometimes feel overwhelmed by all the advice out there, remember, You don't have to do everything at once. Start with one small change. Maybe add an extra serving of vegetables to your lunch, or go for a short walk after dinner. Call a friend and share how you're feeling. Write in a journal. Each gentle step is a way of telling yourself, I matter. My well-being matters. And if you're someone who loves or cares for an older woman, look beyond the checklists and reminders. Ask how she's feeling, not just physically, but emotionally. Offer a listening ear or a helping hand, but also encourage her independence and respect her choices. Sometimes the greatest gift is simply to sit quietly together, letting her set the pace. At the end of the day, health is about more than numbers and medications. It's about wholeness. The body and the spirit are woven together, each nurturing the other. And you, in all your wisdom and experience, deserve to feel well cared for in every way. So let this be your encouragement. Take care of your health, yes, but also nurture your spirit. Seek out joy, connection, and laughter. Allow yourself to rest. And know that you are not alone. There is a world of support, compassion, and community waiting for you. Every small act of self-care, every moment of peace or joy, is a step toward the vibrant, meaningful life you deserve, no matter your age. As we come to the end of this journey together, I hope you feel seen, heard, and understood. The stories, insights, and gentle truths we've explored are more than just answers to the question, what do women want as they grow older? They are a reminder that every season of life holds new opportunities for connection, purpose, and joy. If there's one message to take away, it's this: your voice still matters. Your wisdom, your laughter, your memories, and your presence are needed by your family, your friends, your community, and most importantly, by yourself. Whether you crave deeper connection, long to be valued, or seek new purpose, know that these desires are not only normal but vital to your well-being. It's never too late to reach out, to start a new habit, or to share your story. Maybe it's calling an old friend, joining a local group, or simply taking a quiet walk and savoring the moment. The most important thing is to keep moving toward the things that make you feel alive. If today's video resonated with you, I invite you to share in the comments. What insight or story touched your heart the most? What is one thing you will bring into your life moving forward? Remember, you are not alone on this journey. We're in this together, learning, growing, and supporting each other at every step. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more heartfelt conversations just like this. Thank you for spending your time with me. Wishing you health, happiness, and all the warmth life has to offer.